Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Hour. This is Mitch-Mo.
And this is Dallen. Guys, welcome on in to another episode of the Sports Hour. Good to be here. It is a Wednesday, Mitch. It is the Ides of March, as they say. Mid-March, as it is. It's a great time of year. Great time of year in the sports calendar. March Madness getting underway. Officially tomorrow on Thursday. Again, we're recording this March 15th. Going live on a Wednesday night, live on YouTube and Twitter. If you're tuning in, hello from the socials. If you're listening to this in the future, hello on the podcast feed. Good to have you along. We got another fun show ahead. Mitch, tell the people what we got in store today.
We got a ton in store. We got some NFL news. We have a trade, a mutual trade, Dallen, a sports hour trade, if you will, that we have to discuss that we're going to get into a little bit. We also have a little bit of Aaron Rodgers news, maybe some things that he hinted on Pat McAfee earlier today. Some NFL free agency superlatives, which I think will be a fun way to cover what's been going on so far during the free agency period. Thus far, which actually opened up earlier today. So we'll get into that a little bit. We got some revisiting of our new segments, some additions to the Boys Club, a Kraken update, and then a very special segment to round out the podcast that we'll get to at the end of the show. Dallen, it's jam-packed. It's loaded. It's worth, loaded show that we have here this evening.
Absolutely. Yeah. Cannot wait. A lot of stuff going on in the sports world, especially in the NFL. So excited to break down a little bit of free agency, react to that. But of course, we have to start at the top with, as you very rightfully put, the sports hour trade. Our teams making a mutually beneficial move together. And you love to see that camaraderie. We've talked about this before. Mitch wrote an article about this. He even hinted at this in his article. Well done, my friend. The Bears were going to trade the number one pick, right? It was just a matter of to who and what would the compensation look like? How far would they move back? Well, we have our answer. It's back to 9. The Carolina Panthers have made the move all the way up to the number one pick. And in return, the Bears get that haul that they were looking for. They get the number 9 overall pick. They get the number 61 pick in this year's draft, a second rounder. They get a first round pick in 2024, a second round pick in 2025. And, oh, by the way, Pro Bowl level wide receiver DJ Moore as the icing on the cake there for the Chicago Bears. So the Bears move back to number 9. The Panthers move up to number 1. And here we are, both of our teams involved in this big mega move. So I want to start with your Bears, Mitch. I want to start with your Bears. And I want to ask your reaction first to this. Just kind of let me know where you're at, and then we can kind of talk through this.
God bless Ryan Poles. God bless Ryan Poles. That is a wonderful man who knew what he wanted and went out and got what he wanted. This was, I had talked about best case scenario, them trading back twice. That might have been wishful thinking, but man, right now, this is as good as it could have gotten. This is as good as it could have gotten. A first round swap, 2 seconds, and a future first, and DJ Moore, a 26-year-old wide receiver who's locked up for 3 more years. A wide receiver 1 that you get for 3 more years. I mean, this is as perfect as it gets. So this is what the Bears needed to do. They secure the future draft capital that they can invest in future draft classes. They still get a top 10 pick this year. And by the way, they get the wide receiver 1 that they've been so longing for the last few years. Something that they never gave Mitch Trubisky really to throw to, and something that they Justin Fields really desperately needed was a wide receiver one. They have that now, and this is as good as it could have gotten for Chicago.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about a lot of the different scenarios that they could have taken: trade down twice, trade to 4, and take a guy. I mean, there were a number of different ways, but yeah, I think ultimately this is a home run for Chicago because again, when we're talking about this move back to 9, the presumption and the thought would have been that you would have had to probably give up 2 future first round picks to move back, right? Or to move up that far, right? We saw San Francisco move from 12 to 3 just a few years ago. And in order to make that jump from 12 to 3, they gave up 2 future first round picks to Miami, right? So to move up to 1, you would have thought that. Instead, here we get a second round pick and DJ Moore. And I'd argue, I think that's a fair sort of swap here. And for the Bears, it's more valuable because you need that guy for Justin Fields right now. So instead of a pick that becomes a future player, that becomes, it's like you just get a wide receiver one now on top of a future first, on top of the, you get all the assets as well. But for the Bears, in the end, I think this is a much better scenario.
I think that, and I'll make the argument, this is a better scenario for them than just getting the 2 future first, because you get the known commodity in DJ Moore. You know what DJ Moore is. He's a wide receiver 1, right? He's a guy that can be the head of your wide receiver core. And then you also get the future draft capital to build upon the defense that has been floundering. The front 4 is absolutely god awful right now. We know the offensive line's really bad. Trading back to 9 puts you in the perfect position to take my guy, Peter Skoronski, my guy of the draft, yeah. Peter Skoronski. And then you also lock up the future first with the additional seconds this year and in 2025 to continue to build upon that. I mean, this in my mind, getting DJ Moore in the second was better than than getting the 2 first, because one of those now is essentially a known commodity. I mean, DJ Moore is worth probably that first round pick anyway. So like you know what you got. You don't have to take the gamble on anyone.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for the Bears, you're perfectly positioned again in the draft right now. You take Skoronski, you take best player available. You trade back from 9. Let's say Skoronski's gone. You don't love Paris Johnson in the top 10. You don't love Broderick Jones in the top 10. We'll slide back 14, 15. Anybody want to move up? You move back. It just affords you so much flexibility to be in that spot, specifically in the draft. I love that. Obviously, the future capital is a big win for Chicago, and DJ Moore on top of that. I want to sort of transition this into the Panthers a little bit here, if that's okay. Do you have any other thoughts on this from the Bears' perspective, as in regards to the trade?
No, I feel like I've done my victory lap. I was actually going to transition into where do you stand on the Panthers into this trade, because I mean, they gave up a lot for that number 1 overall pick.
It is a lot. And
they're sitting in a good spot.
Yeah. And in the same vein of this conversation, the way that I think it's better for the Bears to take on DJ Moore as opposed to that future first, it's better for the Panthers to give up DJ Moore than give up that future first, in my opinion, because we are now resetting this timeline, right? I mean, we have a new head coach, a whole new coaching staff, right? It feels like a new era in Carolina, right? With Frank Reich. And so you're resetting this clock in a way. Bringing in a rookie quarterback at the number 1 pick absolutely resets that clock. And so now you're talking about a guy in DJ Moore with 3 years on his contract. He's already got that contract. He's getting paid. Yes, he's a great player. Yes, he'd help your young quarterback, but does that make the most sense financially? Is he expendable in that regard in the way to get up to that number 1 guy? In my opinion, I think it is. And preserving that future first round pick, who was going to become a vital player in the future, is a big win for Carolina. Mitch, this is the move they had to make. The Panthers had to make the move up to number 1, not number 2, not number 3, not number 4, number 1, because we've been floundering in mediocre quarterback play since David Tepper took over this team less than 5 years ago. And if he wants to make this mark, his stamp on this franchise, which he certainly does, He needs to make a flashy move, which he knew coming into this offseason. So what did he do? He paid out of his pocketbook for one of the best coaching staffs in the NFL. He paid out of his pocketbook for all these different guys to bring him into Carolina. And then he traded everything to get up to the number one, to get the guy to have the best chance to secure a future star quarterback. And that's what you have to do in the NFL. It doesn't mean it's going to work. It doesn't mean it's going to pay off at all, but it's what you have to do. And as a fan, I'm just grateful that the team and the ownership made the decision to just do it. Go up to number one and take the guy you feel like is the strongest candidate, the most surefire guy. You might get that wrong. You know, it might be somebody else, but at least they made the shot. You know, they took that opportunity, because you either wins. It's about winning Super Bowls, right? That's at the end of the day. You know, getting the third best quarterback doesn't help you do that. Getting the first best would. So as a fan, listen, it's a steep price, but it's a price well worth it. And now it's just about evaluating these quarterbacks and getting that decision right.
Yeah, and the Panthers are in a good spot because, like, defensively, they're in a pretty good spot. They're in a really good spot to continue to grow that defense. It was really the offensive side of the ball that they needed help with, and I mean, obviously, quarterback was the glaring need. So why not trade a pretty hefty package to make sure you get the quarterback of the future and then build around him? The Bears did the same thing just a couple of years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
So kind of following almost the same model, where Bears are kind of on the upside of that now. The Bears are kind of, or the Panthers are kind of in the valley of that same trajectory. So I think it was a great move for both teams. I think on paper, when you look at it, it's easy to go like, oh my God, the Panthers got robbed in broad daylight, but they didn't.
Right.
They didn't, because the situation that they're in, it really, really pays off. I think it's really, really going to pay off for them in the long run, because they're going to get a great guy like Bryce Young or CJ Stroud to build around that organization.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the price to trade up to the number one pick is always going to be hefty. But if you tell me that package is coming for the next Patrick Mahomes, would any fan be like, they got swindled? Of course not. They would say 10 times out of 10, I wish my team would do that, right? So in the end,
you'd take Pat Mahomes over that any day. Yeah.
And in the end, that's what you're hoping for. You know, is you're hoping that that's that next generational guy, and that's the guy that changes the franchise, and that's the price it takes to take those shots. So we'll see how it goes. It's now made me want to fast forward April 29th just to know who that guy is going to be, you know, for the Panthers at the 101. But it will be certainly exciting, and more moves to come in the draft order. And speaking of that, Mitch, you know, perhaps this will shake up the draft order, the Aaron Rodgers movement, as we have known, as we have discussed, you know, his future in Green Bay. What would it look like? The rumors around New York, all the reports, and he wants to go to the Jets. They're meeting. There's a deal in place. They're working this out. Well, today he goes on the Pat McAfee show. 500,000 people watching live. Incredible. Fun to be a part of. He comes on to clear the air, and he tells Pat McAfee, and he tells the crew there that he intends to play for the New York Jets, and that essentially it's right now in the hands of the teams hammering out compensation. The way that he put it, he seemed to be putting a lot of the blame on the Packers. He insinuated that they're being greedy, that they're essentially looking for more compensation than they should in return for him. He brought up the fact that he's the longest tenured Packer ever. He's played the most games. He's one of their all-time greats. You know, just let me go, you know, do right by one of your all-time greats. He just wants to move on. And he will move on. That's basically what we've learned today, right? This is going to happen. It's just a matter of when and what the compensation looks like. Some of the reporting around that was that the Packers are looking for a Matthew Stafford-esque deal, which is 2 first-round picks. My guess right now is that number 13 pick goes back for Aaron Rodgers, and we call it a day. When it all comes said and done, maybe there's a third thrown in there because, you know, we got to just throw something else in there. But this is going to happen, and Rodgers confirmed that. I mean, he said a lot else in that interview that we can talk about if you'd like, but the most important information is that he said out of the mouth of Aaron Rodgers himself, I intend to play for the New York Jets.
This told me, like, this it cleared for as murky as kind of it seemed at the end of that interview, because it was a great interview, by the way. If you haven't seen it, go watch it, because that's a great interview. But um, it cleared up a lot, and it really just painted it black and white. He's either going to be a New York Jet or he's not playing football anymore. You've seen the last day of Aaron Rodgers in a Packer uniform. It would be a miracle if he is wearing green and gold next year. Absolute miracle. And I'm a firm believer in our Lord Jesus Christ, but I don't think that he's miracle. This miracle seems impossible. I don't think he's going to be. I do not think he's going to be a Green Bay Packer next year. It's just not going to happen. So he is going to be a New York Jet, or he's going to be out of football, and he's going to be the next host of Jeopardy. And this is going to be one of those things over the next week. I think that we're going to really see a lot of development on. We're going to see a lot of back and forth between the Packers and the Jets. We're going to see some statements from Aaron Rodgers, because he is not shy about speaking his mind when it comes to the situation, and he's not afraid to put the Packers on blast. So I think that there's going to be a lot of words thrown around. But at the end of the day, I think we will see Aaron Rodgers in a New York Jets uniform in 2023.
Yeah, I
think that's ultimately what we're going to see.
Yeah, it just seems like a matter of when at this point, and again, just waiting for the compensation from the Packers there. I thought it was interesting, though, when he talked about going into his darkness retreat. He mentioned that he felt 90% sure he was going to retire before he went into his darkness retreat. And then coming out of it after the 5 days, he felt very strongly that he wanted to play again, that he wanted to try playing again. So, we were very close to seeing an Aaron Rodgers just say, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm out, and that's it. So, fascinating how things have turned, but the Packers are ready to move on to Jordan Love. They've said that the owner, CEO, more or less said that a couple weeks ago, thanked Rodgers for his service, essentially. But yes, we will see what sort of compensation he gets from the Jets. He is, it seems like Randall Cobb's going to come along for the ride. Who knows who else is coming along for the ride to New York? But he pulls a Brett Favre, the Brett Favre plan. He goes to New York. So Minnesota, just pencil it in a couple years from now. You're going to get him on the tail end of his career. So Vikings fans, you can look forward to that.
Eerily similar to the Brett Favre debacle, isn't it?
It's a little uncanny,
It's a little uncanny how this is going to happen.
Yes, sir. Mitch, do you want to get into some of these free agency deals?
Yeah, let's get into some free agency deals, and we're going to attack this with some superlatives. So a little bit of a different way that me and Down have found. It's a way more entertaining way to talk about free agency deals than just naming numbers and places and names. It's a fun way to do it, and we're going to start this off with the Fits Like a Glove Award.
Yes,
and this is our best fit. This is our best fit that we're looking at as far as free agency has gone so far. So, Dallen, I would like you to start here with your best fit. So far through the early free agency period, what's your best fit so far that you've seen?
Yeah. There were a number of guys I considered here. There's a lot of fits I really like, obviously. But the one that I'm going to go with is Rashad Penny to the Philadelphia Eagles, former San Diego State Aztec, former Seattle Seahawk, joining the NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles on a 1-year deal. And listen, Rashad Penny, the former first round pick, I think back in 2019, has been, he's been a tough case in the NFL. When he has been healthy, he has legitimately been one of the best running backs in the league. If you look at his stats per carry, per game, when he plays, he's been one of the best running backs in the league, but he's played less than like half of his games. So there's a reason why, the Seahawks went and drafted Ken Walker Jr. or Ken Walker III last year. It's like, we can't rely on Penny. All that is understood. But Philadelphia, Mitch, you mean like the best running team in the league that has Jalen Hurts, that's bringing back Boston Scott and Kenneth Gainwell. And I mean, they might even add Bijan Robinson in the draft too. but throw Rashad Penny in there, because even if he's good for 6 games, Mitch, he's going to average 140 for those 6 games. He's going to be incredible for when he plays. And what a better spot to put him in than behind that offensive line and that in that offense. So I think for a low risk, high reward gamble at that position, I mean, what a great place to look. And I mean, I could just feel like him being, healthy for a playoff run next year. And it's like, oh yeah, there's Rashad Penny averaging 125 in these playoffs. He's just carrying this team. What's going on? So I really like that. I really like that deal.
Yeah, no, I love it for them too. I think it's a great filler for Miles Sanders.
Yeah.
This is a guy that can bruise. This is a guy that can stretch outside. He's not necessarily a pass catcher, but Philly has plenty of pass catchers in that backfield. Like, that was kind of what the problem was with Miles Sanders being there. It was a very convoluted backfield with so many guys that are the exact same type. Rashad Penny does not match the type of running back that the other guys are there. So we're going to see Philadelphia, I think, maybe take some of the run game pressure off of Jalen Hurts and really utilize Rashad Penny if he can stay healthy. And I hope that he can, because he's an exceptional talent. If he can stay healthy, utilize Rashad Penny for what he actually does and is actually really, really good at. And that is ground and pound, 4 yards a carry, grind it out for you, and be, kind of a light workhorse, if you will.
Yeah, for sure. What was your fits like a glove best fit so far in free agency?
Mine's Jimmy Garoppolo to the Raiders.
Yeah. That's not going to be popular among Raiders fans.
No, it's not. And I need to tell Raiders fans right now, you wanted Derek Carr out. You got him. You got it. Finally, you got Derek Carr out. For whatever reason, Derek Carr was your guys' biggest problem, and now he's out. You got what you wanted. You signed Jimmy Garoppolo, and all of a sudden the world's coming to an end again. The world's coming to an end again because you got Jimmy Garoppolo, who is Derek Carr, but cheaper. At the worst, Jimmy Garoppolo is exactly what Derek Carr is. Let me clue you in, Raiders fans. The quarterback position has not been the problem, because apparently you guys aren't paying attention. Raiders fans don't pay attention. All they care about is wins and losses. They aren't paying attention to what's happening on the field. The problem has been the defense for the last 2 decades. You haven't addressed anything on that. At worst, you got exactly what you had before, but cheaper. Now you're just saving money, and I hope to God that you address that on the defensive side of the ball. And if you don't, I don't want to hear a goddamn word out of any of you, because you haven't addressed the problem one bit. Jimmy Garoppolo is a proven winner. He's a proven winner, a game manager, doesn't make dumb decisions. Give him a weapon or two. He can make some things happen. Now you've saved some money. Go address the defense. And if if the Raiders are 3-6 at the end of next year, or in the middle of the next year, I don't want to hear anything about Jimmy Garoppolo unless he's throwing 20 interceptions. I don't want to hear anything about it, because that's not the issue. The issue has been the defense. The issue has been the front office, and it's been that way for 20 years. Jimmy Garoppolo is a great fit for the Raiders because he is exactly what the Raiders need, which was Derek Carr. They just never addressed the actual problem. Rant over. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, they found Derek Carr, who's a better fit with their head coach, Josh McDaniels, right? I mean, McDaniels was his offensive coordinator in New England for 3 years, right? I mean, Jimmy Garoppolo has a familiarity with this guy. And as you pointed out, they got him for cheaper, Mitch. I mean, this year's 3 years, $67.5 million, $34 million guaranteed. So you're basically getting him 2 years, $34 million guaranteed. Carr's getting that like per year over 2 years. So all that money that you freed up, as you said, goes to the defense. We've seen Jimmy G in a good situation. He led a team to the Super Bowl. He damn near won one with the Niners. Now, they had an elite defense and some very good offensive weapons, but They've got a lot of really good offensive weapons on this team. He's going to do fine with Josh Jacobs and Devontae Adams and Hunter Renfrow and co. Like, he's going to do great in that offense. And as you said, frees up for the defense. So, yeah, I think this is a best fit. He was a candidate for one of our categories later on the list, but for me, yeah, I mean, this is a great fit. Raiders fans, listen, I will add this as well on top of everything that you said, because this is great. This also does not preclude you from taking a quarterback in the draft this year.
No,
it does not preclude you from taking Will Levis at number 7, which I love, and I still love for them at this point, because you just sit them for a year. You just play Jimmy G and say, kid, learn. All right. Your time will come, but you're going to sit here. You're going to learn. And that gives you that flexibility. You're not, tied into Jimmy G so much that the money doesn't make sense to draft a rookie. You got all that as well. So yeah, Raiders fans, you'll be okay. This is going to work out just fine.
You know what the Raiders organization and Raiders fans are like? They're like the little kid that fell off their bike for the first time, and they don't know what to do once they fall off their bike for the first time, and they're just sitting there crying the whole time. Get up, dust yourself off, and try it again. Keep moving forward. And they just don't. They just keep falling off their bike, sitting there and crying. It's ridiculous. I should have added Raiders fans to worst fan bases. I mean, really. I mean, they're just bad. They're just bad. They want to act all big and tough, but you're the biggest crybabies in the NFL right now. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Sorry. Rant over. I'm sorry.
Mitch making enemies out here tonight.
I don't have any patience. I don't have any patience for
I love it. Mitch, annual overpay. This is the idea behind this. In 3 or 4 years, we're going to look back and say, yeah, that guy didn't really live up to that contract. And free agency is notorious for that. Once you hit the open market, those contracts get inflated. You get above market value for guys that are not above market players. So in this year's iteration or annual overpay, go ahead, Mitch. Who do you got?
I got Mike McGlinchey, who was actually at the top of my list of free agent offensive linemen that the Bears should go get.
Yeah.
But you look at the contract, right? It's 5 years, $87.5 million. Right. So they're going to be, and it increases in value as the year goes. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, it does. It increases as the years go on. So it's a backloaded contract on a 28-year-old offensive lineman. It just seems like they're going to be overpaying a guy at 30.
Yeah.
He might have a couple good years left in him before he starts to see you start to see the downslide in his ability and his career. But, and he's a very talented offensive lineman, but it seems odd to have a 5-year contract backloaded to a guy that's going to be entering his 30s in a very physical position. It just seems like an odd contract to me. You figure you would have front loaded it. He must have a lot of confidence in his ability to be able to play long term, but just seemed like a really, really odd way. Maybe not necessarily the overall value, but the way the contract is structured. Mike McGlinchey seems a little bit overpaid here.
Well, and listen, offensive line contracts are typically those that end up looking the worst in the end, right? Because that position is just hard. One bad injury, and it's like, yeah, that's it. That guy never was the same. And so, yeah, it's hard to get your value on those. I think that's a good call with McGlinchey. I went with Mitch, and don't take this too harshly here, but I'm going to go with Terrell Edmunds, the linebacker from Buffalo, who got signed by your Chicago Bears in a really big deal. The largest 4-year contract for an inside linebacker in the NFL. 4-year, $72 million deal, includes $50 million guaranteed. And listen, I mean, there's just paying a lot for a linebacker. That's just at a position. You just got to ask yourself where the value lies there. And I think on top of this, I guess I wonder now, why did you trade Roquan Smith? If you were, Terrell Edmunds is making about 17 mil APY, and Roquan made about 20 in his new deal. So you're talking a $3 million difference there, which, over 4 or 5 years is, a significant, but a $3 million difference. Is that like, you drafted a guy, you groomed a guy, and then you trade him and bring in another guy, pay him similar money? I guess I just wonder the logic there and the difference Do they feel they're getting that much value out of Edmonds? Edmonds had a really good year last year, career year, but he hasn't really lived up to that expectation and then first round draft pick that he was. You're hoping he builds onto that in this contract, but it seems more projection than it is what he's valued at right now. And so that's where I say maybe down the line they look back and say, yeah, he probably wasn't worth that market number, So that's how I felt on the Edmonds thing. Not a bad player, but yeah.
I totally get where you're coming from. I do want to say real thing. It's Tremaine Edmonds.
Edmonds. I apologize.
Yeah. Yes. No, I think there is
it's his brother. It's his brother, Terrell.
Yeah,
Edmonds.
Terrell Edmonds. Yeah.
I apologize. Both.
Yeah.
Brothers.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just like, oh, we're talking about.
Yep.
I know who you're talking about, but yeah, I mean, of course I know who you're talking about. I'm a Bears fan, but I think I'm with you on this. The differential in what they were paying Roquan Smith to what they're paying Tremaine Edmonds now, there's not that much of a difference. But you're taking a gamble on a 25-year-old linebacker. It's going to be an off-ball inside linebacker who's had success already in Buffalo. So I get it. Why that would have been an overpay. I'm just going to continue to stay optimistic about Tremaine.
Yeah,
Edmonds.
no,
I'm going to continue to do it. I'm going to continue to stay optimistic,
and he very well may be worth it. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I sure hope he's not, because it's backloaded as well too. So we're gonna be
and $50 million guaranteed. I think that's where it's like that's a big number guaranteed. You need to get 3 good years out of him to feel good about that number. And do you feel strong about getting 3 good years out of him? I guess that's where I sit. Mitch, your most underrated move. Maybe an under the radar. It's not going to make the headlines, but it's going to pay off big for that team. Underrated move.
I'm going to go with TJ Edwards. I'm going to stick with the Chicago Bears.
There you go. I loved this one. I really did.
Yeah. 3 years, $19.5 million. This guy's just been a stalwart. Like, he's just been really, really productive for his position with the Eagles over the last few years. And you know what? They're going to come at, he's coming into Chicago, taking, getting a little bit of a pay bump, but he's not getting overpaid here. He's not getting overpaid. He's a highly productive linebacker, and I love the fit. He's got youth to him. He's only 26. He's going to be 27 by the season start. And he fits what Chicago needs. I mean, Chicago needs defense, which is weird to say because Chicago historically has been predicated on defense, and they need first level and second level guys. So to add him with Tremaine Edmonds on the second level, this feels like just a huge win for the Bears. And TJ Edwards, getting him at the discount that I think maybe a lot of teams would have paid more to get him at this spot. I think TJ Edwards is a really underrated move for the Bears.
Yeah, no, a great move. 3 years worth a total of $19.5 million, but only 12 guaranteed. So, and that's almost why I don't like the Edmonds deal more, because it's like you got a great value at linebacker there, and then you paid a lot of money for another guy. It's like, could they gone, what was the market if you kind of patched that with 2 mid-level guys? I don't know. But yeah, I think Edwards is a great value. And as you said, they really reworked that middle line there. And it's very solid now at the linebacker core, and you got to feel good about that going into next season. Mitch, my most underrated move, I'm going with Clelin Ferrell to the Niners. Clelin Ferrell, former number 4 overall pick in 2019 of the Raiders, a big overdraft at that point. We all knew it. It was very evident, and he proved that over his stint in Oakland and Vegas. It didn't work out. He never really developed into that guy. But here he is getting a shot with the Niners on a low-risk deal, just a 1-year deal. And why I like this, Mitch, is because the Niners have just churned out defensive linemen in the last couple of years. Just like it feels like all these low-level guys they get in to rotate just end up becoming super solid players that go to other teams and get big-time contracts and figure out their fit. And Farrell just seems like a guy that came in with too high of expectations because he wasn't the 4th best player in that draft. He shouldn't have come in with, those sort of expectations. And he didn't live up to those. But now he can go just be a guy and find a role and thrive in a role behind Javon Hargrave and Nick Bosa and Armstead and all that talent on that defense. Come in, play his snaps, get 7 sacks next season, and then go sign a big deal for 3 years, 25, 30 million next year. Like, I think he's going to be just fine. So I think it's like a huge value move. The Niners just seem to always pick up these good values. And this was another one I saw. It's like, dude, if we're all of a sudden all super high on Clelin Ferrell next offseason, I would not be shocked, because that's just what the Niners system seems to do.
Yeah, they seem to revive careers like in a very significant way. And which is exactly what Clelin Ferrell needed, right? He was
100%.
overdrafted, number 4. Mike Mayock made a big mistake of taking number 4. He could have taken him in those mid-round picks, I think, where he took Jonathan Abrams, the safety. I think he could have taken him about in that spot. And, he just hasn't really lived up to the hype of what his draft value was. So I think it's a great reset for Clelin Ferrell. San Francisco has a knack for doing that. He doesn't have to move far. It's going to be an easy relocation for him. And he gets to start with a organization that has a great defensive pedigree to start with. So he's not coming into a situation where he has to, be a leader or anything like that. He just gets to be a part of a great system and really integrate himself into that already established great system.
Yeah, 100%. Mitch, grass isn't always greener. This one is, it may seem like it's going to be a great new fit in your new place, but it's just probably not going to work out in this new destination. My pick for this is Jesse Bates, the Bengals safety, headed to Atlanta on a pretty big deal. It's the 4th biggest contract for a safety ever, 4 years, $64 million. But it just feels like one of those contracts that, again, it's like almost with the annual overpay sort of thing. It's probably not going to pay off. Safety is just one of those positions. It's hard to find like really good value out of it. And you're paying a guy somebody else has developed and franchise tag, and now you're paying him the big contract into his late 20s. Are you going to get $15-16 million a year worth out of him over the life of this contract? Probably not. Is he going to be a good player for Atlanta? I'm sure. As long as he's healthy, Jesse Bates is a really good safety. It's not a question of that, but I just feel like, he's not going to be the Jesse Bates of Cincinnati over the course of this contract. So yeah, I just feel like probably not going to work out better for him in Atlanta.
No, I don't think so either. Honestly, I think him being in Atlanta puts him kind of on an island. He's by himself in that defensive secondary where he's going to have to be the playmaker, and that really makes really good defensive backs look really bad.
Yeah.
You need some supporting cast back there, and when you don't, it's a tough look for you. So I think it's a tough fit for Jesse Bates to be in Atlanta. And I mean, it sucks because he's a great player, and we saw a lot of great things out of him in Cincinnati. I think he's just going to be in a really bad situation in Atlanta.
Yeah, fair enough. Mitch, your pick for grass isn't always greener.
Yeah, I got Stephon Gilmore going to the Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, okay.
It's only on a 1-year deal, 1 year, just shy of $8 million, 7.96. So let's call it 8. 1 year, $8 million deal. 33-year-old quarterback going to the Dallas Cowboys. Unless your name is Darrelle Revis, Rondé Barber, or Champ Bailey, I'm sorry, there's not a whole lot of other cornerbacks out, past the age of 30 that really produce that well. And Stephon Gilmore really hasn't shown that he can be that dominant guy like he has been in Baltimore, like he was for those couple years in New England. He's just not that guy anymore. I don't see that getting any better in Dallas, a team that has struggled against the pass over the last couple of years. And, we can see the gaudy turnover numbers, right? They had, Diggs had the big interception numbers, but, we also saw the analytics of that. He was getting beat most of the time. He just made big plays. I don't think that this situation in Dallas, it doesn't make the situation any better for Stephon Gilmore. So I wish the best for him, but I don't see how this works as an age 33 quarterback or cornerback going into an already struggling secondary.
Yeah, it is an interesting move, sort of veteran move. I guess you would expect a contender level team to make. I think they gave up a 5th round pick for him in the trade. Um, if I remember right, I'm trying to find it real quick. But obviously not a super big investment to go pick him up from Indianapolis. But oh yeah, 5th round pick number 176 overall, a compensatory pick headed to Indianapolis in exchange for him. So yeah, for Indy, I mean, it's a very smart move to move off of him. But yeah, you're right. I think for Dallas, it's probably not going to work out. He had a good year for Indy last year, but he was up and down in Carolina before that. Defensive player of the year before that in New England. But it's like, if we're expecting that guy to come back, yeah, it's probably not going to happen. So I think that's probably a good call there. Mitch, the Amari Cooper Trade Award. This goes to the best trade outside of, the big moves. So no A.J. Brown, Tyreek Hills, those are, we know those are more likely going to work out. Those are really good players. But maybe the under the radar trade move that you thought is going to work out. My pick for this is Jonnu Smith to the Falcons. Speaking of the Falcons, didn't like what they did with Bates, did like what they did here, picking up the tight end Jonnu Smith from the New England Patriots. They traded a 7th round pick, number 245. That's like the 8th to last pick of the draft. It's so far back. And they get Jonnu Smith, who did literally nothing in New England after signing a 4-year, $50 million contract back in 2021. Falcons get him for nothing, Mitch. And why I like this, you're thinking to yourself, what is Jonnu Smith going to do for the Falcons? Mitch, it's going to do everything, Mitch. I would not be surprised if next season the Falcons just straight up don't even categorize Kyle Pitts as a tight end anymore. They might just totally place him as a wide receiver now, because Jonnu Smith allows you to put him in line and move Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts is already playing that Y tight end, that move tight end, moving around, but he could be an X on the outside. I mean, he can. And Drake London on the other side could be an X. He can also be the power slot. So you have all this versatility on the outside with London and Pitts. And I think Jonnu Smith is like, all right, we slide him in line. You block, you play that tight end. We're just putting Pitts and London on the outside, and we're doing whatever the hell we want with those guys. One play, he'll be a slot. The other play, he'll be a slot. The other guy, he's going to be on the outside, and then he'll be on the, we're just going to do everything with these freak athletes on the outside. And so for that reason, I think Jonnu, moving inside, he's got athleticism, movement skills as a tight end on his own. But for what it means for Kyle Pitts, I think it's going to open him up. And I that's the vision I see with the offense. We'll see what it looks like. But that's why I'm digging this.
You kind of talked me into it. We talked about this before the show started, and I was like, really? Jonnu Smith to Atlanta? That's your pick? And you're like, no, I got this. Now I'm thinking about it. Jonnu Smith at the Y, Kyle Pitts at the X, and Drake London at the Z.
Exactly. I mean, 2 tight ends set with the Tennessee offense, right? The Arthur Smith offense.
Then you shift Kyle Pitts across, and you basically go a tight trip set. Mm-hmm. When you motion Kyle Pitts across, I mean, God dang it.
There you go.
That could be deadly. You know what? Yeah. I love it. Love it. You talked me into it. I wasn't so sure on Jonnu Smith, but darn it. And you know what? The guy can block too. He's a great blocking tight end as well. So he provides help in the run game, which is something the Falcons want to do. They want to run the football. So this is going to be a fit that, darn it. Well done, Dallen. You talked me into it. You talked me into Jonnu Smith. I like it.
Again, low key, doesn't move the needle. He's not going to have 1,000-yard season himself, but I do think it just changes the way this offense looks for the better. Mitch, you didn't really have a pick for this, but we're just going to let you be happy about DJ Moore.
I have to thank you. I have to thank you and just letting me do this, because I just went with DJ Moore to Chicago. And I know that this is a big deal, but this is massive. This is massive for me. This is massive for the Bears. This is massive for Bears fans to finally have a wide receiver 1. What we thought we were going to get Allen Robinson to be, and he just really wasn't that. Now we pair him up with a quarterback with promise. I mean, DJ Moore adds a completely different dimension to the Chicago offense. I think more so than fans actually realize. We like to talk about how diverse and how game-changing Darnell Mooney can be on the deep ball, which he really can be. He can be in the right scenarios. But you can't rely on a guy that's only going to catch the ball 4 times a game. You just can't. DJ Moore can be a target monster. Can be a target monster in that offense. And if you attract away the attention away from everyone else and put it on DJ Moore, even if he's getting, 80 receptions a year, everyone else is getting freed up in that offense. The Cole Kmets, the Darnell Moody's, the Chase Claypools, they're going to get freed up and be bigger contributors to that offense. So adding a big guy like DJ Moore, a big threat, just opens up the playbook so much more for the Chicago Bears. And that is by far the best trade I think we've seen all offseason, more so than all the trade compensations. I just love that we have DJ Moore now.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. And for those who, just don't see him as that guy, keep in mind that for his entire career in Carolina, he's been catching passes from Taylor Heineke, PJ Walker, Teddy Bridgewater, Sam Darnold, Baker Mayfield. I'm forgetting some because
didn't he catch passes
Kyle
from
Allen, Cam Newton. There. Yeah, I mean the list continues. That's the point. Is he's been incredible catching passes from like God knows who. I mean, any level of consistency and talent is just going to open the door for him and his possibilities. He's a Pro Bowl level player for that reason. So yeah, if he had to go anywhere, listen, I'm so sad to see him go. He's an incredible player, but if he had to go anywhere, I'm so happy with your team. I can't wait to root for him in Chicago because I will be.
Look, we will take good care of DJ.
I hope you will. I hope you will. Keep him at it. Build him a new stadium because that stadium sucks.
Hey, no, we're going to Arlington Park, baby. We're going to Arlington Park.
Mitch, final one here on the superlatives, the Christian Kirk Award. I love this one. This is one I'm most excited about. It's the deal that we think is bad right now. But by the end of next season, we're going to look back on it and be like, yeah, that was a really good deal. Think back last year when we saw that Christian Kirk deal come through. We saw $20 million, $21 million a year for Christian Kirk over 4 years and went, what the hell is Jacksonville doing? What the hell are they doing? Christian Kirk, that guy? And then look, he was like almost 1,000-yard receiver. He was incredible for the team. It stabilized the offense. They go to the playoffs. Lawrence is great. It's like, oh, fantastic move. Exactly what they needed to do. What's that move going to be this year? What's the move that right now fans are saying, I don't know about it, but then we're going to look back and be much more on board. One of my first thoughts, and you used him earlier, was Jimmy Garoppolo, right? Because the reaction has been so viscerally negative, right, towards him.
Right.
I'm going to go and stick with that same team. I'm going to go Jacoby Myers, though. I'm going to go the Jacoby Myers deal because I don't, it's not like anyone's super excited about Jacoby Myers. You're like, we got Devontae Adams, Hunter Renfrow, Josh Jacobs. Like, why are we paying $11 million a year, for Jacoby Myers? 3 years, $33 million, 21 guaranteed. But think about this, guys. This is how I think about things. It's not just like the players on the field, but what does it do for the scheme? What does it do for the math, right? Jacoby Myers is a really good slot player. That's what he's kind of known for, but he actually only played 50% of his snaps in the slot. He played 50% of his snaps on the outside, and in limited snaps, he's been one of the more efficient players on the outside in the NFL. And we know Hunter Renfrow is one of the best slot receivers in the NFL, period. Not good on the outside at all, though. So what does this do for you? If you thought, it's a little, redundant, right? You got a slot guy in Renfrow, you bring in a slot guy in Myers. No, Myers is going to be fine on the outside, but it's also going to allow you to move him into the slot at times, play with those numbers. And then when you're talking 2 wide receiver sets, Mitch, you're throwing Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers out there. Myers is a great blocker, great in the run game. You can motion him inside, create, using him in blocking schemes. Renfrow can't do that. Right? He's not that kind of player, but Myers can, and he can do all those other things as well. So he's an all-around talent that does a lot of things really well, is going to just piece a lot of the holes and allow the stars to shine in their best light. Devontae to shine on the outside the way he does so well, Renfrow to shine in the slot the way he does so well, and Myers is just going to do everything else. So I think it's a wonderful fit. And Raiders fans, he's not a home run, but you're going to look back next year and be like, yeah, that was a great signing.
as you talked about this, I really thought about like, wow, this is really going to let Renfro, like you just said, shine in the slot, which is where he thrives. And it made me think that Jacoby Myers might be one of the most underrated wide receiver twos in the entire National Football
Oh,
League.
yeah.
Not necessarily because of his production, but because what he allows other players to do around him, and what he adds to the run game. You mentioned the blocking. This is a guy I would feel totally comfortable being my wide receiver too. Totally comfortable. And you mentioned all the great accolades to it, that are all the great things that he's able to bring to an offense. Jacoby Myers, absolutely a great recipient of this award. That's going to be a guy that I think years down the road we're going to go, wow, this isn't so bad. This wasn't
Yep.
so bad. Jacoby Myers was a good ad.
Yeah. What about you?
I want you to hang with me here because I'm going to go Baker to Tampa Bay.
Okay.
I'm going to go Baker Mayfield to Tampa Bay.
All right.
And I want to start with that Baker Mayfield has not given himself a great track record to start off his career, right? He has not really given himself a great place to start at all. Not a whole lot of success. He's had flashes of greatness, flashes of just like, wow, how did he do that? Wow, he looks great right now. But the majority of his career, it hasn't lived up to the hype. But now he's in Tampa Bay. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, whoever they got at tight end. It seems like they have a great tight end no matter who they start, whether it's O.J. Howard or Cameron Braid or whoever it is. They always got someone serviceable at tight end. The running back situation, Rachaad White, big Rachaad White guy. They're going to have a run game there. I really feel like. The defense is there. Todd Bowles, defensive guy. Why wouldn't this be Baker's opportunity to turn his career around? Why not now? And I've been kind of a Baker believer his entire career. I've been a guy that's not really given up. I haven't really given up on Baker because I feel like the situation in Cleveland is so toxic that maybe in hindsight it was never really going to work out. Yeah. Going to Carolina, that's not a good fit in hindsight.
No,
but
I believe Matt Rule.
Not with Matt Rule, but I believe in the talent of Baker Mayfield.
Yeah,
and I think that given the right situation, it can happen. And maybe a disciplinarian like Todd Bowles. Todd Bowles is a no bullshit kind of guy, right? He runs a tight ship, and he's very good at what he does of making sure his players know their role and do their job. And maybe that kind of coaching over the top of Baker Mayfield is exactly what he needs in Tampa Bay. So I love the fit of Baker to Tampa Bay. And maybe this is something that on paper you're not super excited about, but give it the 1 year. Give it the 1 year, and we might be talking about, because you're not going to be talking about Kyle Trask by the end of the year. I'll guarantee it right now. You will not be talking about Kyle Trask at the end of the year. You'll be talking about how Baker Mayfield led that team to a wild card appearance at the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's what you'll be talking about.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's a 1 year, $4 million deal, right? Up to eight, right? If he wins the job and takes it to the playoffs and makes a problem, you know what I mean? It's like best case scenario is making $8 million. That's nothing. That is chump change for quarterbacks for a guy who's the number 1 overall pick just a few years ago. And you're competing him against Kyle Trask, right? The former second round pick who they have said, they continue to say, hey, we like him. We're cool with rolling with him. Well, now you've brought in the perfect competition, because if Kyle Trask is really good enough, he'll beat Baker for the job, right? And you'll have no doubt come week 1 that Trask is your guy, and it reassures how you feel about him. But if he doesn't, then it tells you what you know about Trask, and it opens this opportunity, as you said, for Baker to prove himself, because he's got a lot to prove. We write off quarterbacks so quick in the NFL nowadays, guys. It's so just quick. Like we see Ryan Tannehill, we've seen Geno Smith. Like, just keep those guys in your mind when we write off the Zach Wilsons and the Baker Mayfields and all these guys already in their career. Like, there is a long path to be had and a career to be had for these guys, even if it's not what we expected of them on that draft night. So I'm right there with you. I think this is a great pickup for Tampa. I think it's going to work out. I really do.
I sure hope so. I sure hope so. This should be a great fit. Great fit for Baker. Great fit.
Yep. Yeah, no, I think it's a smart move by Tampa. Needed to add another quarterback to that room, and there we go. That's what we have. That's NFL superlatives right there, Mitch. Again, more moves to be had. We've seen even some come through as we've been live here for the first hour of the podcast. I saw Orlando Brown is now a Cincinnati Bengal. He just signed a big deal with Cincinnati to be their new left tackle. So pretty big move for Cincinnati's short bow line. So, we'll continue to react to talk about those as they come. Lamar Jackson still pending. Officially today, he could talk to teams. So, maybe we'll get some noise in the coming days there. And obviously the Rodgers thing, as we discussed, still TBD. We'll see where that gets to. But in the meantime, Mitch, let's take a quick break. Let's hit the mid-roll. And on the other side, a lot of fun. We're going to do the resume check again. We're doing who the hell is that again. And then, as Mitch alluded to, we're doing something fun on the backside, a bracket competition in honor of March Madness. So it's going to be a lot of fun. You're not going to want to miss it. So stick around, and we'll be right back. Thanks for checking out the Sports Hour today. We appreciate you wherever you're listening, but if you haven't already, we recommend you check us out and give us a listen on Anchor.
Anchor allows us to provide the best product to you. You can go support the Sports Hour and become a permanent part of the show, like my saint of a mother Sammy and my father David did.
You can even leave us voice messages with your thoughts and opinions that we can use on the show. Prove to us that you know better than me and Mitch-Mo.
Moral of the story, people, be more like Sammy and David. Go find us at anchor.fm/the Sports Hour, guys, and become a part of the conversation. What the hell are you waiting for? Welcome back into the second half of the Sports Hour. Thanks for sticking with us, and thank you for tuning in here on the live feed on YouTube. And if you're listening to us in the future, thank you for listening to the podcast. We appreciate your participation in this. Dallen, second half of the show coming up. We're going to get back into some new segments that we debuted last week that we had a ton of fun with. We got a couple additions to the Boys Club. Return to the Boys Club. Who doesn't love the boys? A little Kraken update, and then a special segment that we have at the end in lieu of our draft. So, Dallen, let's start with the segments, our fun segments, our fun time, Dallen. This is our fun time. This is the time we get to have fun a little bit on here.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's start with the resume check.
I mean, so, all of it's fun, but
of course, yes.
This is
the more particular fun. Yes. Yeah. The resume check. If you weren't listening last week or don't remember, the idea behind this game is I'm going to lay out the resume for a championship team, and Mitch has to tell me what team I'm talking about. He's going to get 5 hints, 3 guesses, 2 additional hints after each the first 2 guesses. And again, a championship team in their given sport. That's the parameters for resume check. And this week, Mitch, we are talking about a Super Bowl champion.
Oh boy, so, here we go.
MLB last week, NFL this week.
I'm still mad that I missed the 2002 Angels. I'm still mad about that.
Yeah, that was a tough one.
I listened back to that episode and like all the clues. I'm like, of course that was it. Like, and of course, like now that I know the friend, and now that I know the answers, like, of course it's going to be more obvious. But darn it, I was so mad at myself. I should have gotten that one. But this should be a fun one.
Redemption is your name this week, Mitch. I feel it coming. All righty, we're looking for a Super Bowl champion, Mitch. Here are your 5 hints to start. Number 1. Okay. Number 1 thing about this team, Mitch, their gunslinger, MVP quarterback, early in his career, led this number 1 seed to a Super Bowl win. They led the league with the most points scored and the fewest points allowed. Defense was led by a Hall of Fame level defensive lineman, and they had a Heisman winner on the roster as well. The team did not, however, have a 1,000-yard rusher or a 1,000-yard receiver. Finally, this team became the first team since 1972 to go undefeated at home. Those are the 5 hints for you. I can run through them again. And again, Mitch will get 2 additional hints after each of his first 2 guesses to kind of narrow the field a little bit. So that's where we got to start.
First team since 1972 to go undefeated at home. Well, that points to the 72 Dolphins. Gunslinger. No 1,000-yard receivers or rushers.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to start this off. Whew. Was that 96 or 97? I think it was 96. I'm going to start this off with the 96 Packers.
Redemption is your name, Mitch.
Let's go.
Redemption is your name. And I knew you'd get this one this week. Of course you'd get this one so easy. It is the 96 Packers, Mitch, led by that gunslinger MVP
Brett Favre
in his career, Brett Favre, leading a number 1 seed to a Super Bowl win. They scored 456 points that year and allowed 210, leading the league in both those categories. Nobody had gone undefeated at home since the Miami Dolphins until that season in 1996. Reggie White on the defensive line, Desmond Howard, the Heisman winner, on the roster. And yes, no 1,000-yard receiver or 1,000-yard rusher. Crazy for a team that led the league in points scored to not have a 1,000-yard receiver or rusher in the season was crazy.
If I remember correctly, they had like it was like 10 different receivers on that offense that like contributed to the receiving of Brett Favre. And then they had some tight end, I think Chmura was his last name.
Mark Chmura.
Yeah, he was like his big red zone target. Like, so it was,
Keith Jackson is who you're thinking of. 10 receiving touchdowns as a tight end.
Yeah,
that
Jackson,
season. Yeah, Chmura was on that roster as well.
Keith Jackson,
the leading receiver on that team, Antonio Freeman, had 933 receiving yards that year. The leading rusher, Edgar Bennett, 899 rushing yards and only 2 touchdowns.
Antonio Freeman rings a bell. Edgar Bennett certainly does not. So,
Yeah.
wow. What a team.
Yeah, incredible. I gotta give you the couple other hints on here that I thought were fun.
Oh, yeah.
My second hint, I was trying to throw you off. I'll tell you this now. I was trying to throw you off because there's some Chiefs vibes. There's some 2019 Chiefs vibes in these hints. There's some that clearly point to the era, but young gunslinger, number one pick, there's some, you could kind of get some Patrick Mahomes Chiefs thing in there. So I was going to try to throw you off with some of that. One of the hints was the QB room featured a former Bears quarterback and, a future NFL head coach.
Jim Harbaugh.
Jim McMahon.
Oh,
Jim McMahon was the former Bears quarterback.
Oh, and
Doug Peterson was the quarterback. The former
Harbaugh
NFL head coach.
Yeah. Harbaugh was a Bears quarterback. Yeah.
The former NFL head coach was Doug Peterson. The former Bears quarterback was Jim McMahon. Those were the other guys in that quarterback room that year behind Brett Favre. The final hint was head coach was one of 3 former BYU coaches to win a Super Bowl to further drive home the Chiefs thing. Because Mike Holmgren was the QB coach at BYU during the run of Jim McMahon, Steve Young, Robbie Basco, and the like at BYU. Obviously led to a very long career in the NFL for him. So well done, Mitch. You got it immediately.
Oh,
spoiled the whole segment for me.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to stink up the show, man.
Good. That's what it's about. Listen, sometimes we get it immediately. Sometimes we can't get the easy ones. I mean, that's just how the games go. That's why we play the games.
That's why we do it. And I can't wait to hear what you got next time, buddy.
Yes, sir.
I'm sure you'll stump me the next time. So, but let's roll right into our next news segment, which is who the hell is that? Who the hell is that? And Dallen, you went to my forte, the NFL. I'm going to go to your forte, the NBA.
Okay.
And so basically how this one's going to work, for those who didn't tune in last week or those who need some reminding, I'm going to give Dallen the career path of this NBA player. I will have some hints after his initial guess, 1 hint after each. He gets 3 guesses. Very similar to the way resume check works. But Dallen, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
All righty. This NBA player had the career path of Washington, Portland, Atlanta, Detroit, Boston, New York.
Okay, repeat that one more time for me.
So, Washington, Portland, Atlanta, Detroit, Boston, New York.
Okay. Now, obviously, I don't know era yet. I don't know but I had one name come to mind at first, so I'm going to throw it out there. I'm going to go Kelly Oubre Jr.
It is not Kelly Oubre.
Okay.
That's a decent guess, though.
Thanks.
So would you like the era?
Yes, sir.
So this player played from 1995 to 2010.
Okay.
And then a single season in 2012, 2013.
Interesting. Washington, Portland, Atlanta, Detroit, Boston, New York. Is that right?
And you know what? I'll throw this in as a bonus.
Okay.
Because this one really isn't even fair. He only played 1 game in Atlanta.
Okay.
He was on 3 different teams in the 03-04 season. So he only played 1 game in Atlanta, and then he
moved around a bunch.
Yeah. So that wasn't really fair to throw Atlanta in there, but it is part of his career.
Okay. I think I've got a pretty good guess here. I feel pretty good about this. Not 100%, but I feel pretty good about Rasheed Wallace.
Well done, my friend. It is Rasheed Wallace.
Let's go. The Atlanta thing certainly threw me off. So thank you for clarifying that,
And I felt like that was only fair because he was only there for 1 game, and he did start that game, by the way. But yes, Rasheed Wallace, a 4-time All-Star, Four-time All-Star, a 2004 NBA champ with the Pistons.
Mm-hmm.
The 95-96 All-Rookie team, drafted originally by the Bullets, which is where the Washington thing comes from. So
yeah, that's a tough one because you remember the Blazer years, obviously early in his career, and you obviously know the Pistons championship window, but
exactly.
Yeah, the stuff in between there was tricky. See, the Boston Celtics one was the hint that, and when I knew the era, and I knew we were talking about the championship Celtics teams, right, at the late 2000s, then I'm thinking, okay, what veterans were they bringing in for a run, right? Because that's what what veterans are you bringing in for a run? And what do? They brought in Rasheed Wallace alongside a number of other guys. They brought in Shaq one year. It's like, so that's where I kind of picked it up.
And that's so interesting that was the tip off for you.
Yeah.
No pun intended, by the way. That was the thing that leaned you in that direction. That's so interesting.
Yeah.
It was Boston at the end of his career. So yeah, Rasheed Wallace. Well done, my friend. That was I thought this one might be a little bit of a challenge.
It was certainly tough. That was certainly
giving
tough.
You NBA. I know you know your NBA. So I was like, hey, Dallen's up for the task. I know he's got this.
Yeah.
And great.
Let's go.
Great job. Great job, my friend.
Let's go. 2 for 2 on who the hell is that? Got him on the second guess each time. I'm feeling good, man. Feeling good. I like that.
Vibes are high, man.
Vibes
good
are high.
Confidence. I like it.
Vibes are high. Mitch, you've got some entries to the boys club, right? We got to throw a couple names in the boys club. Okay.
Yeah. So really quick, this one's about 2 weeks late, about a week late, actually. Kurt Kitayama.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Kurt Kitayama getting into the boys club. A local guy. He's from Chico, which is where I live, Chico, California. Graduate of Chico High School. Winning his first PGA. Got his first PGA Tour victory just a couple of weeks ago in the Arnold Palmer Invitational. Actually, Dallen, I brought up a memory that you had even forgotten that we played basketball against Kurt Kitayama.
Yes. I told my wife that afterwards because I had told her about this golf. I was watching the golf tournament all weekend and was like, oh, yeah, he actually pulled it off. That's cool. Oh, he's from Chico. I didn't even realize that. And then Mitch tells me the next day, dude, you know you played basketball against him? I'm like, no, what the? Incredible. And he played. Listen, I did watch that whole tournament, and he was on a Sunday when everybody fell apart and nobody could make a move. He held steady and he earned that win. That was a great tournament.
I mean, what a great final round by him, by the way. I mean, he went on cruise control, and cruise control is a loose term, man. He just locked it down.
He was dialed in. Yeah,
he was dialed in on that final round. I mean, what a great round from Kurt. So Kurt Kitayama gets into the boys club.
Hell yeah.
The next addition is Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay.
And every boys club, and I imagine that the boys club we're in the backyard, we're barbecuing, we're drinking some beers, we're having a good time, we're shooting the shit. Jimmy Garoppolo is apparently an incredible cook.
Oh.
And I found this out on TikTok. If you follow at the Notorious Foodie, that is Jimmy Garoppolo cooking the entire time. And Jimmy Garoppolo is apparently a huge foodie and a great cook.
Wow.
And the boys need to cook. So I went with Jimmy Garoppolo here into the boys club because damn, everything I've seen him cook, oh my God, just looks incredible. Just looks incredible. So I'm throwing Jimmy G in the boys club as well. So
Notorious Foodie. Is that what you said?
At Notorious Foodie.
Wow.
On Notorious_Foodie on TikTok is Jimmy Garoppolo.
Okay.
Take a look at some of his recipes, man. I mean, they're fantastic. I mean,
I'll be perusing.
Incredible.
Man, Jimmy GQ, man. First, he's the most handsome man in the NFL. Then he's, an extremely capable NFL quarterback. Then on top of it, he's great at cooking. Like, geez, Jimmy, save some for the rest of us. Like, I get all the gifts in the world. What is this,
I'm sorry, Kenzie. I might want to date Jimmy Garoppolo. I might dump you for Jimmy G.
Hey, watch out there.
I'm kidding. I wouldn't do that ever. But I might have an affair. I might have an affair with Jimmy G.
Just so he can be your hall pass. He could be your hall pass.
Yeah,
Everyone gets a
exactly.
hall
Yeah.
pass. See, that could be your all. That's a good one. Mine's Justin Timberlake, by the way. That'd be mine.
Really? JT?
Yeah, I think I have an emotional connection with him. I think he'd love me nicely. That's what I'm hoping. Mitch,
He's a tender lover. Yes.
yeah, exactly. You've heard future sex love sounds. Come on. Mitch, weekly Kraken. I just know my wife's watching this in the other room cracking up. So Mitch, weekly Kraken update. We gotta talk about the boys.
Yeah, the boys, man.
Yeah, bit of a slide. 3-game slide for the Kraken right now. It's at 37, 23, and 7 on the season. That's 80 total points on the year. Good for 4th in the Pacific Division, so have slipped a bit there. 6th in the Western Conference. Again, slipped a bit there. 81 total points, excuse me. But again, we talked about this last week in the Kraken update. The standings in the West are super tight. It's anyone's game over the last month of the season here, and it remains the same for the Kraken. Yeah, they've fallen a little bit, but they're 1 point back of 4th and 5th, 5th and 6th respectively. Colorado and Edmonton, right? They're just 3 back of Minnesota Wild for 4th in the Western Conference. So a lot of one win, boom, and you're right back up the standings. It's still anyone's game here in the West. Vegas pulling off. They're up at 42 wins. So they're sort of, moving up there. But Kraken are still sitting pretty, still in the playoff mix. It's where you want to be, but got to stop the slide. Right this ship here. Can't let too many fall. And let's make sure we get into this playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it's still really wide open. Maybe 2nd in that Pacific Division is about where maybe their cap is.
Best case scenario, for sure.
That's best case scenario because I mean, Vegas is playing really great right now.
Yeah, Vegas is up to 42 wins. They're at 90 points. They're going to be hard to catch for sure.
Right. So, I mean, 2nd in the Pacific Division, getting a playoff spot there, that's a great second season from the Seattle Kraken. So, we're just going to continue to ride with the boys. They continue to, like I said last week, own the trenches.
Yes, sir.
Kraken owns the trenches. Yep. I love it. I mean, the Kraken, they got plenty of time to turn around and continue to play some great hockey.
Oh, yeah. So. Oh, yeah. 15 games left in the regular season for the Kraken, 82 total in the season, right? They've had 67 so far. So, again, well positioned to make the playoffs here, but we're just hoping for a top seed, maybe, that home field advantage, if you will, in that first round, get those extra game in Seattle. That's what we're hoping for the boys. So, Mitch, last bit of the podcast here. We got the bracket. Sports Hour bracket this week. No draft, as Mitch alluded to. In honor of March Madness, again, the NCAA tournament getting underway tomorrow, we've got a little bracket for the podcast. We're going to do it live, and we are ranking and deciding the champion of the best team name in college sports. We've gone through 350 Division I teams, name by name, and we've come up with an educated, scientific list of 16 of the best names out there. And we're going to go through it live here on the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, Twitter, you're going to be a part of this. You're going to watch us fill out this bracket live. If you're listening, you're going to follow along as we go through the Sports Hour bracket, best college team names in the land. Mitch, you excited for this?
I am. Lots of Bulldogs, lots of Tigers, lots of Lions, but we found the best. So, and
yes,
credit to you, Dallen, because you found a lot of these as well. So, you being well versed in the college sports, working, that being part of your occupation, a lot of these as well. So, credit to you as well to bringing a lot of these names to the forefront. So,
yes, sir. Yeah, this is just a fun little exercise. There are some quirky names in college athletics, and we're going to talk about a number of them here. So if you're watching live on YouTube and Twitter, you can see the bracket. It's up on your screen right now, 16 seeds. You can see this bracket. We're going to go through, and again, if you're listening, we'll go through this matchup by matchup so you can listen and follow along. But again, 1 through 16 teams, and let's start, Mitch, at the top. Let's start with the one in the 16 matchup.
Yeah, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons against the University of Missouri Kansas City Roos.
Yes,
shortened from Kangaroos. Look, I have said this for a long time, and I said this just before we started the show. The Demon Deacons is probably my favorite college football or college team name of all time. I mean, it's perfect. It's perfect. It's got alliteration. It's got contradiction. It's just perfect. I love kangaroos. I think kangaroos are beautiful animals. Even though they do have this sick kind of thing where, like, if they feel threatened by like a predator, they will throw their joey at the predator to escape the predator.
Just like, yeet their child at it.
They'll just yeet and ditch. Like, that's it.
I might try that strategy when I become a dad someday. I might have to bust out the yeet and dips into the.
How about you don't do that, because I want to be an uncle too. So like, I'm going to go with the Demon Deacons here. I think that's a very clear one. Like, that's a very clear win here.
Yeah, listen, Kansas. It's almost better had they shortened it to Roos a couple years ago, right? Used to be Kansas City Kangaroos, and that alliteration is much better. It almost ruins it to shorten it to Roos. You almost dock points for not keeping Kansas City Kangaroos. But yeah, the Demon Deacons is incredible. Yeah, I'm right there with you. They are a number 1 seed for a reason. The Demon Deacons advance in the 1-16 matchup, Mitch. We're on board there. We got to go to the 9-8 matchup, though, and this is going to be a tough one. We got the Wichita State Shockers. Great name, against the Stony Brook Sea Wolves. I love the mysticism of a sea wolf, Mitch, because what is that? Wolves don't live in or near the sea. I mean, I'm sure they could wander near a beach once in a while, but I'm not familiar with what a sea wolf is. Is that like a shark? I don't know what that's supposed to mean. I love the menacing ambiguity of a sea wolf. I feel a little particular that I'm open to Shockers, though, because I do like it. But I kind of like that I don't know what a sea wolf is.
See, and for that same reason, well, okay. Look at this. Mysticism behind sea wolves, of course. It's like it's like the Kraken. Like, we know what a Kraken is, but we don't actually know what a Kraken is, right? Like, like it's a mythical creature. However, I like Shockers better. Because I know what a shocker is, right? In Kansas, they grow a lot of wheat. When you harvest wheat, they call it shocking the wheat. People that harvested the wheat were called shockers, which is why the Wichita State guy has got the little wheatgrass hanging out of his mouth.
Okay.
But shockers also alludes to electricity.
Yeah.
It alludes to I almost said shockiness, which is not a freaking word. But it alludes to other things. Shockticity. Electrical current. No, it alludes to other things outside of just wheat harvesting, but it is fitting for the region as well.
Yeah.
Stony Brook and sea wolves, I get it. They're on the coast, but no one really knows what a sea wolf is. Is it a sea lion? Is the wolf that roams the rocky beaches of the East Coast? I don't really know. So, like, I have to go with Shockers here over the 9th seed Sea Wolves.
Okay, here's what I will say. If they were the Seattle Sea Wolves, it'd feel more fitting. But Stony Brook is in New York State. And so, yeah, East Coast Sea Wolves just doesn't fit as right with me. I'll go with Shockers with you. We'll go with the 8 in this one. Well, we'll go with the 8 in this one. You've convinced me. All right, Mitch. 5-12 matchup. This is always a big one for upsets in the actual NCAA tournament. The 12 seed, a 12 seed will win this week, guys. If you don't have a 12 seed upsetting a 5 in your bracket, you've done something wrong, because it happens every single year. So just keep that in mind.
Huge betting tip. Bet the money line on the 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 seeds.
Yeah, okay.
Because you will lose a lot of them, but you'll hit big on a ton of them and actually wind up over top.
There you go.
In the black. So
yeah,
there you go.
Okay. By the way, if you're listening or watching live tonight on YouTube or Twitter, you have any thoughts on these mascots or these names as we go through? If you think one of these is better than the other, let us know in the comments. Let us know what you're thinking as you go through this, because we want to do this with you. But up next, again, the 5-12 matchup. Got the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors versus the Purdue University Fort Wayne Mastodons. First off, Purdue University Fort Wayne. Wow, that's a lot.
That's too wordy.
Mastodons, though, incredible. Prehistoric creature. I love dipping back into that. Very unique. We don't dip back into that. Mastodons is great. But Rainbow Warriors is also fantastic. And especially when they really dug into the rainbow themed and had rainbow themed jerseys or sort of rainbows in the jersey. Oh, that's just great. So I love Mastodons, but Rainbow Warriors is tough for me to pass on. I'm not going to lie.
You mentioned the uniqueness of the mastodon, right? A prehistoric creature, and we love to talk. I mean, who doesn't love to sit down late at night? You've been having a couple beers, and you're watching stuff on YouTube that's like the dinosaur documentaries, right? Because
you just destroyed the dinosaurs. I need to know.
You just want your imagination to run wild. That's all you want, right? I love the Mastodons mascot. I think it's very creative. But you mentioned that it's something we don't see often. We see it on one of the biggest stages of all time. We see it with the Raptors.
Ooh,
we see that prehistoric mascot.
Done
and now I know
by Toronto.
I know that we see the Warriors on the same platform, right? But it's unique in the Rainbow Warriors because it fits perfectly with Hawaii, the tropical weather, the Hawaii, the rainbow that comes after the storm or after the rain in Hawaii. It is perfect. I visited the campus. I've seen it's a beautiful campus, by the way. It's fantastic. I love the Rainbow Warriors. I think it's one of the best names in college sports. I have to agree with you here and go with the University of Hawaii.
Okay, we're going Hawaii, the 5 seed. So far, no upsets in the bracket. We'll see how that continues as we go to the 13-4 matchup, Mitch. The 4 seed Nebraska Cornhuskers Power 5 school against Presbyterian University Blue Hose. Explain what the Blue Hose means for me. This is, by the way, for those listening, we're not talking hose like rappers. We're talking hose like HOSE, but we're also not talking garden hose.
No, we're not.
Specific.
So this has to do with one of their original names back in the 1880s, 1870s, which had to do with blue stockings, right? So it was a popular name. Like the Red Sox weren't always the Red Sox, right? They were the Red Stockings. Same thing with the Reds of Cincinnati. They were the Red Stockings. The White Sox were the White Stockings. It was a common thing back in the 1880s, 1890s. This kind of adjusted to the Blue Hose to talk about the undergarment or a garment that they were wearing, and ultimately kind of evolved into kind of a Scottish theme to talk about a kilt. So essentially they're the Presbyterian blue kilts, which I think is a way better name. I think that blue kilts is way better than Blue Hose, but I get where the feeling is coming from. Yeah. I'm calling a 13-4 upset. I'm going to go with the Blue Hose.
Okay. Yeah, I'm right there with you too, especially Mitch, considering that we went with Shockers, which is very similar to Cornhuskers, but not as good. So yeah, I'm right there with you. First upset of the night, number 13 Presbyterian Blue Hose over Cornhuskers. Let's go to the 3-14, Mitch. Number 3 TCU Horned Frogs, the Horned Dogs, as we love them, against number 14 Stetson, the Hatters. Yeah, the Hatters.
Yeah, the Hatters. Actually, the college Stetson is named after the individual that created Stetson hats, which is the cowboy hats that you see all people wear, everyone wearing nowadays. So Stetson College is named after that same Stetson, and that is why their name is the Hatters.
There you go.
Very unique
It'd be
name.
like, if Mr. Nabisco founded a college and they were the Nabisco Crackers. Mitch, that
full of white guys. Full of white guys.
But that wouldn't be allowed in 2023. Now that I think about it and say that.
Full of white dudes.
An all-white collar. I'm just kidding. No,
That's racist. Okay.
Mitch, all right. Stetson Hatters.
This ain't 1872, Dallen.
Listen. As great as the Hatters is, though, the Horned Frogs is great. Can we go? I gotta go TCU in this one. The Horned Frogs is a great specific animal that's not intimidating, but the way they've turned it into the Hypno Toad and they've just embraced it, TCU, it's incredible. I think Horned Dogs has to win. I even said Horned Dogs.
I know. I love it. I love that you said Horned Dogs. That's an all-time moment on the podcast, by the way. I love the story of how the Stetson Hatters got their names, but I gotta say, Gig'em Frogs.
Yeah.
Like, give me the TCU Horned Frogs.
Okay, we're going TCU, number 3 seed there. 11-6. This is a really good matchup. The 6 seed, Coastal Carolina. The Chanticleers versus number 11, the Campbell University Fighting Camels. For those who are not familiar, Chanticleer, it's a rooster. It's a French word for a fancy fighting rooster. So like that Ricky Bobby, El Diablo. What does that mean? I think it's Spanish for like fighting chicken or something.
I think it's Spanish for like fighting chicken. Yeah.
This is like French for like fighting chicken, but like actually not like the Ricky Bobby thing. Which one is a great mascot name, a great color scheme, the teal that they use in Coastal Carolina, but Campbell University from the Big South coming in hot with the Fighting Camels. Camels would be great, Mitch. You add fighting camels in front of it. I think this is upset alert for me.
Look, so I love when teams put fighting in front of it. So
yeah,
part of the reason why I love the Notre Dame Fighting Irish.
Oh, yeah.
I love that name because they have the fight in front of it. If they were just the Notre Dame Irish, I wouldn't care.
Not
but
as cool.
The Fighting Irish, absolutely. I'm all on board. The Chanticleers.
Mm-hmm.
Here's their downfall. All they did was be the South Carolina Gamecocks and just make it French.
Ooh. Oh, you're so right.
That's all they did.
So right. I haven't even put that together. They're in the same state, Mitch.
That's all they did.
Just like, we're going to be teal instead of red. And we're going to be French. Gamecocks.
So give me the Fighting Camels. Give me the Fighting Camels. That's upset incredible. Alert. Give me the Camels.
Yeah, we're going Fighting Camels. I hadn't even put that together. That is incredible. Wow. Yeah, you're right. What frauds. All right. 7-10 matchup, Mitch. A couple animals squaring off here. We got the 7 seed, UC Irvine, the Anteaters. Great one. Anteaters, very quirky. Number 10 seed, the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens. So we're hitting Mitch again with the fighting animals. Mitch loves the fighting. And again, not just the fighting hens, but the fighting blue hens. They're making it tricky here as the 10 seed.
Look, this is probably the toughest matchup of the whole bracket, I think. Because Anteaters, quirky, man, they're that's a great mascot.
Who thinks of that? Yeah.
No one else has that. And honestly, I love the mascot. I love the logo too. Mm-hmm. It's very plain looking, but it's different from everything else. But the Delaware Fighting Blue Hens, you don't have anything else like it. It's got fighting in front of it. It's an off color of what hens actually are. It's completely unique to Delaware, and no one else could even ever replicate it. So I have to go the 10-7 upset here, and I have to go Delaware.
I'm right there with you, Mitch. And especially as we did not pick Chanticleers, this is an upgrade over Chanticleers. Fighting Blue Hens over Chanticleers as far as, fighting bird mascots go.
No, that has to be it.
We'll go with the Fighting Blue Hens. Final one here, Mitch, the 15-2. And of course, it's fitting. You maybe seen this 15 seed. What is this? The NCAA tournament? No, it's not. 15 seed St. Pete's. The St. Peter's Peacocks, the NCAA tournament darling from a year ago, who stunned Kentucky and made their way to the Elite Eight. They're the 15 seed here against number 2, Arizona State, the Sun Devils. Sun Devils is such a great name. It's so unique to Arizona. It's so fitting for Arizona. but it just has like a fun sort of vibe to it, an edginess to it that I love. Peacocks is great and unique, and they've pulled off the 15-2 upset before, so it's kind of tough for me, Mitch, but I'm going to say I am leaning Sun Devils.
Peacocks is very, very unique. Again, like mastodons, like fighting blue hens, anteaters. There's nothing else like it. It's very, very unique. But Sun Devils, man, that's just cool.
Yeah.
It's just cool, man. Man, I'm a Sun Devils fan.
Right?
I mean, are you kidding me? Like, that's a great statement to say, man. I'm a big fan of the Sun Devils. That's a great, great team name. And I have to go Arizona State in this one as well. I mean, the 2 seed over the 15. Got to have it.
Okay. We're going Arizona State, and we're on to the next round. As you can see here, if you're watching, we've got quite a number of upsets here. 13 and 11, a 10 seed making it through to the next round. We'll continue on through, Mitch, with the 1 versus 8 matchup. Here we go. Wake Forest, the Demon Deacons, versus Wichita State, the Shockers. I'm not going to lie, Mitch. I think this is an easy one for me. Demon Deacons all the way here. I'm rolling with Wake Forest.
I love the Shockers name. I think it's a fantastic name. Fantastic name. But my heart is with the Demon Deacons in this matchup. Yep. I have to take Wake Forest.
Okay. We're taking Demon Deacons over the Shockers to make it into the Final Four. 5 versus 13 next for a chance to face off against Wake Forest. Hawaii, the Rainbow Warriors, versus Presbyterian University, the Blue Hose. What are you thinking here?
Again, another one that pulls in my heartstrings because I love the thought and the history behind the Blue Hose, but the Rainbow Warriors is just so damn good.
Yes.
I have to go with Hawaii here.
Yep. The Cinderella run ends for Presbyterian. We'll go the 5 seed Hawaii, making it on to the next round. The Rainbow Warriors advance 3 versus 11 here. TCU, the Horned Frogs, number 3. Campbell, the Fighting Camels, excuse me, number 11. The Campbell Camels is incredible. Mitch, Horned Frogs versus Fighting Camels. Man, this is a really, really tough call. If you're watching, if you're listening live, let us know your thoughts here. Horned Frogs, Fighting Camels. I feel like this is kind of a toss-up for me. Where are you leaning here?
This is like a double overtime matchup. Like, I feel like that this is one of those matchups that, like, it's going to come down to the wire. We're going to double OT. Damn it, Gig 'em Frogs.
Oh, you're leaning Horned Frogs.
I really want to pick the Camels here, but I think they just slightly edge out the Camels. And it's because that the Horned Frog is very specific of a mascot.
Yeah.
Like a camel is that's one species, but a horned frog is a subsect of a very specific species.
Right.
We're looking at a very unique, different animal.
A different level of specificity here.
And honestly, like, think about it. You have Gig 'em Frogs, right? You have Gig 'em Frogs, then you have what? Camels? Like, I don't know what that is.
Got Hump On. What do you mean?
Hump On? What do you do that? I don't know. Hump On. That sounds nasty. Get your mind out of the gutter, Graph.
No, Mitch, here's the thing. Here's my argument for this. I just accidentally said this name as a great alliteration. I didn't realize the Campbell Camels.
Are you gonna go to bat for the Camels?
I kind of feel like we have to roll with the Fighting Camels on here. The 11 seed.
I disagree.
To make a run, the Fighting Camels. You, Mitch, you love the Fighting Anything. And listen, Horned Frogs are great.
I love the Fighting Anything, but the Horned Frogs is so damn good.
When do we see anything like
when do we see anything like a frog? By the way, frogs, my second favorite animal behind a duck. So
there's a bias here.
I'm leaning biased a little bit.
We need a decision. We need a tiebreaker. How do we decide this?
Hold on just a second. I'm going to grab a coin.
Okay. We're going to go coin flip on the podcast to decide. Because, again, this is a tough one. And if you're listening and you have any opinions, last chance to voice them here to sway us on a way. But we're debating between number 3 TCU Horned Frogs, number 11 the Campbell Fighting Camels.
Jesus,
best names in college team in college.
Jesus
Mitch has got a coin.
Jesus will be heads, and the back will be tails.
Okay.
You call it in the air. Obviously, you're calling for the camels.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
Ready, go.
Yep. Tails. Tails never fails.
It is heads.
All right. There it is. Jesus wins. We're going with TCU.
Jesus.
Well, that makes sense. It's Texas Christian University. I should have known I was playing against bad odds there.
And you did not have home court advantage in that one.
There friend. You go. No upset today for this one. And that leads us to the final matchup here in this round. Number 10, Delaware, the Fighting Blue Hens. Number 2, Arizona State, the Sun Devils. This is an interesting battle here, a tough one, but I feel like I'm going to roll. I feel like I'm going to lean Sun Devils on this one.
Dude, we just flip-flopped because I think of the fighting teams that we had.
This is the one you like?
This is the one I like.
Blue Hens?
The Blue Hens.
Oh, okay.
This is the Blue Hens. Look, it's so unique. It's so unique. Anyone could pick fucking camels. Anyone could pick camels.
I mean, have they though? They didn't.
No, they didn't. But anyone could have. No one's thinking blue hens. Can you name me a blue hen?
No, I don't even know what that is.
Can you name me a blue hen that's fighting? I don't think so. So, give me
what's a Sun Devil, Mitch? I don't know. No, listen.
The devil of the sun. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm with you here. Fighting Blue Hens is a great name. I love Sun Devils. It's a 2 seed for a reason, but we'll go with Delaware on this one. Okay. We'll go with the Fighting Blue Hens to get past, and now we're in the final 4. We've got the 1 seed Wake Forest Demon Deacons, the 3 seed TCU Horned Frogs, the 5 seed Hawaii Rainbow Warriors, and the 10 seed Delaware Fighting Blue Hens. Some great matchups here to wrap this up. We'll start, Mitch. Demons Deacons versus Rainbow Warriors. Wow. This is like the championship. This should
be a national championship match. This is not a Final Four matchup.
Holy cow. Mitch is such a big fan of the Demon Deacons. I have to ask you first. Are you sticking with your love for the Demon Deacons, or are you swayed by the waves and the sunshine of the Rainbow Warriors?
God, I love the Rainbow Warriors so much. That's a great name. Demon Deacons is so cool, though. It's so cool.
What's cooler than being a warrior of the rainbow,
Give me. Down this. Why is this the hardest decision I've ever had to make on this podcast? I don't understand. This
is a tough one.
So here's the deal. I've talked about how cool Demon Deacons is, the alliteration, the contradiction. It's it's just perfect. It's a perfect mascot, right?
Yeah.
The evil Catholic guy, really. I mean, that's where we're at here.
Yeah. Well, for a religious school. I said this to you earlier. We were joking about this in prep. It's like if BYU was like the demon bishops, it'd be like, what are we, what? That doesn't even make sense. Why would they be that?
What did I say? The devil Mormons?
The devil elders. The devil elders.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's just along those same lines. It's so absurd, but it's so perfect. But the Rainbow Warriors fits Hawaii so perfectly. And you think about the Maori Warriors.
Mm-hmm.
And the connection between rainbows and Hawaiian culture. Give me the Rainbow Warriors over the Demon Deacons.
It's Hawaii, Mitch. It's Hawaii. Rainbow Warriors is, and we'll save our thoughts because they're going to be the championship, but I'm with you. Rainbow Warriors advance the 5 seed over the 1 seed. Wow. Love it, Mitch. Who's going to face them in the championship round, though? Number 3 seed, TCU Horned Frogs. Number 10 seed, Delaware Fighting Blue Hens, Mitch. I love this. We had on one side of the bracket, we had 2 team names that are people, right? Demon Deacons, Rainbow Warriors, those are people. Things that people that do things. On this side, we got animals.
People that do things, yes.
Horned frogs, yeah. People that have things to do. The other hand, we got animals. We got the horned frogs. We got the fighting blue hens. Where are you leaning here? What are we thinking?
Like I said, I have an affinity for team names that have fighting in front of their names. It's tough to beat TCU though. Gig'em Frogs. Give me the Horned Frogs here.
I was all on board with the Camels over Fighting Blue Hens, so I'll roll with the Horned Dogs, the Horned Frogs here with you. We'll go TCU over Delaware, setting us up for a final matchup. The 3 seed versus the 5 seed. TCU, the Horned Frogs. Hawaii, the Rainbow Warriors in the championship. Our Sports Hour bracket today, greatest college team names. We've done it live here on the podcast, 16 to now. We have to decide on just one. And Mitch, I got to tell you, I think the way that this has come down, it is a no-brainer to me. Great names, 16 great names across the board, 2 great names here in the championship, but the Rainbow Warriors is the perfect name. It's the perfect name. It's perfect for the school. It's perfect for what it represents. It has a sort of levity and fun and quirkiness to it while also having an edge and a grittiness and a competitiveness to it at the same time. It is perfectly emblematic of the area that it represents and the school that it represents. It's perfect. It's the perfect team name. And I think it's fitting that it's found itself here in the finals. And I did not feel that way before we started this. I didn't think that beforehand, but as we've come through this, I feel very strongly, Mitch, that it has to be Hawaii.
I've saved this point in this argument till this matchup because I wanted the Rainbow Warriors in the finals to begin with.
Okay.
It is the most perfect team name in all of sports in the history of the world.
Wow.
It is the most perfect team name, and it cannot beat the Horned Frogs. I'm talking about, might be too soon, Georgia TCU national championship game, 63-7. It might be that big of a blowout. Give me the Rainbow Warriors over the TCU Horned Frogs.
Love it. We're going Hawaii. And just like that, folks, there you have it. Our Sports Hour bracket today on the podcast in honor of March Madness and the NCAA tournament getting underway, the greatest college team names. And we've crowned Hawaii, the Rainbow Warriors, as the champion. And you can see the bracket in front of you if you're watching live. If you're watching on YouTube later, if you're listening to the podcast, come over, pop on the YouTube, check out this little video because it's a little fun to watch us go through this. If you didn't get the chance, it's youtube.com/the Sports Hour, guys. But yeah. Rainbow Warriors, Mitch, this seems perfect, honestly. I'm very happy with how this played out. No idea where we were going to end up, by the way. Had no clue what team we would end up picking at the end.
No, honestly, I really thought after we had talked about who was going to be in and who was, what the seating was going to be, I thought the Cornhuskers were going to make a run. Losing to the Blue Hose in the first round, I thought was a big upset.
Yeah.
But I feel like we made really great arguments for why Presbyterian should prevail over Nebraska.
Right.
Another one that I thought might make it further than what they did was the Sun Devils, but I think they ran up against a Cinderella team in the Fighting Blue Hens that got themselves to the Final Four, and they just kind of ran themselves into a tough spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, I advocated for the Fighting Camels pretty hard. I would have had them in the championship against Hawaii. And I probably would have gone Hawaii still, but that, looking at this now, if it was my personal, I love that we did this together because we had to compromise, and I love that I love Campbell there. So for me, they probably would have gone a little farther. I am surprised though, and it's probably just based on matchup, but it felt like in my head, Mastodons would do pretty well, and I'd probably want to advance them a decent amount. But man, they got Hawaii in the first round, and that was
That's a tough
draw. It feels like if they ended up somewhere else, maybe they make it a little farther on this.
Yeah, that's a tough draw in the first round, getting the Rainbow Warriors, who was the eventual tournament champion. So
yeah, exactly.
I feel like this is something that we need to do more often, Dallen. We need to do more brackets like this. This was fantastic.
Fun. This was awesome. Hey, if you've been listening live, watching live, let us know what you thought. If you had a good time, we did have a comment. Caitlin, my wife, commenting we saw we missed this when we were talking about this, but she was advocating for the Fighting Camels as well. So good on you.
Strong,
right there with
strong team.
Great names. And listen, guys, that doesn't even include the ones we left off. We like the short list was like 50 deep of names that I came up with.
Oh my
gosh.
Just
the first time I cut it down. So many good names that we left off.
I do want to mention some honorable mentions, and Dallen, you informed me at the before we started recording that I accidentally added a Division II team on here, which I didn't realize was Division II. The Santa Cruz Banana Slugs.
Yeah.
UC Santa Cruz Banana Slugs was an honorable mention, and because my lovely lady Kenzie went to this college, and it's a great mascot that's active as of 2022. The College of the Redwoods, Sasquatch.
Ooh, the Sasquatch. And if we're getting into mythical creatures, now that's a whole fun realm.
Run. I mean, Sasquatch is making a run. I mean, that's Final Four material right there. So.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Give me where's the Monterey Chupacabras? You know what I mean? Whoever decides to take that name, they're winning my vote.
That'd be another fun bracket, man. Just do junior colleges, community colleges, mascots, because they get even weirder.
Absolutely.
We went.
It's like minor league baseball, where it's like the lower level you get, the weirder the names get. You get to single A, and it's like they're just putting jokes as names. They're not even trying,
Actually, can I give you some of the weird ones that I found?
Yes, please do.
So Scottsdale Community College is the Fightin' Artichokes.
That's awesome.
The North Carolina School of the Arts is the Fightin' Pickles.
Oh, okay. Love that. Lots of food, fighting foods. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, that was really the only two. The rest of them are cute dog mascots, but a
lot of terriers. There was Great Danes we left off. The golden retrievers, So
the Great Danes from Albany was another one that we left off. So that would have been a great one.
Yeah, fun stuff. Wow, that was awesome. The Sports Hour bracket. That was fun stuff on the podcast, and that's pretty much going to do it for the podcast today. That's all we got. A little fun. Wait, before we end, I just wanted to ask you. I know that you're not super into college basketball, maybe didn't follow along, but I'm sure you've maybe thought of or filled out your bracket at this point on Wednesday night. Who were you picking to win the national championship this year?
Well, because a specific team from a certain state, from a certain college that I have an affinity for, happens to be a 1 seed and the 1 seed in the entire country. I'm going to pick the favorite, and that is the University of Alabama.
Okay.
Roll damn Tide. But if you have to fill out a bracket, Dallen, I must say, go to KSL Sports, Bracket Mayhem.
Yes.
And fill out a bracket there, because that is a great organization, a great company that is doing a bracket challenge right now, put on by ours truly, Dallen Graff.
Yes.
Go ahead and get on KSL Sports Bracket Mayhem and fill out a bracket there, because that's one of the best places that you can get in the country anywhere of filling out a college basketball bracket. So make sure that you get on there. Don't fill out that useless paper printout thing. Make sure you get on KSL Sports and make a bracket with them, because that's where the real action is at.
Oh, Mitch, what a plug. You're incredible. I didn't even ask you to do that. That was great. Yes, I put in work on that bracket, guys. So if you need to fill one out, you want to do it for fun.
Put in a ton of work, my friend.
Yeah.
Put in a ton of work.
Go to KSL Sports, do the bracket mayhem. I love that you picked Alabama, Mitch. I had Alabama in my national championship game, but I do have them falling to Houston. I'm rolling with the Cougars, the future Big 12. One of the best teams in the country all year. They seem like
Houston's
a juggernaut.
So good.
So I have Alabama, Houston in the championship game. Duke and UCLA are the other Final Four teams that I have this year. And Houston over Alabama. So should be a fun tournament. It's always fun, to see the upsets. The Thursday, Friday of the tournament here tomorrow and Friday coming up for us as we're recording this. I mean, those are like one of the best days of the year. Just watching college basketball all day while I work is incredible. So can't wait for it. And we'll have more next week and in the future weeks on the podcast to talk about here. But in the meantime, if you don't already, follow us on the socials. The TikTok is at the Sports Hour Guys. The Instagram is at the Sports Hour Guys. Follow the Twitter to watch us live every Wednesday night at Sports Hour Guys. You can also do it on YouTube at the Sports Hour Guys on YouTube. Check out the website, thesportshourguys.wordpress.com. I'm releasing mock drafts pretty regularly. We'll most likely have one out next week. As long as the Rodgers deal and we get clarity on Lamar, I will be putting out mock draft 3.0 next week. So you'll want to look forward to that and more as we continue on in the season. And then the podcast feed. If you haven't checked it out on Anchor, or Spotify for podcasters, as it is now known. You may want to find it there, but anchor.fm/the Sports Hour Guys, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Mitch, we do need to remind people about Anchor, though, because that is where you can really become a part of this show.
Get on Anchor, guys. Now, as Dallen mentioned, it is now known as Spotify for podcasters, which that was brand new to us this last week. But get on anchor.fm/the Sports Hour Guys. Become a permanent part of the conversation. If you want to leave a voice message, you can do that. Become a permanent part of the conversation. We will we will play your message live right here on the podcast, on YouTube, on Spotify, on Stitcher, which, by the way, is anywhere that you can listen to our podcasts. Go on anchor.fm/Sports Hour Guys. Become a permanent part of the conversation. Like I just said, you can listen to our podcast wherever you get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher. Look up the Sports Hour Guys. You will find us there. Go ahead and get on Apple Podcasts. Leave us a rating review. Tell us that we suck, because Dallen, that's the only way that we can get better.
Oh, man. It really is.
I'm tired of saying it. Just tell us that we suck already, will ya?
162 episodes in, almost 5 years in, guys. We're still asking for you to tell us that we suck and how we can get better. So, do that if you feel so inclined. So, more NFL free agency fun, more dominoes to fall in the future that we'll talk about and react to here, and more fun to be had on the podcast. Until next time, love you. We appreciate you, and we will catch you next week.
So long, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you, wherever you may be. See ya.